Hey nerds, we are going to do a top 5 moments of Marvel Television's Ironheart, episodes 1 through 3, starting now. Welcome back to the Nerd Social. I am Colin.
And I'm David.
So, David has been gracious to join me for this top 5 moments review of Ironheart. It just came out 2 days ago on Disney Plus. The title of the first episode is Take Me Home, written by Chinaka Hodge, who developed this for television, and directed by Sam Bailey. The second episode is Will the Real Natalie Please Stand Up? It is written by Malarie Howard and directed by Sam Bailey. And the third episode is We in Danger Girl, which is written by Francesca Gailes and Jacqueline J. Gailes and directed by Sam Bailey. The spoiler-free logline of episode 1 was determined to complete her newest armor suit. Riri Williams teams up with Parker Robbins. Episode 2's spoiler-free logline is Riri's new AI dredges up painful memories ahead of her first heist with Parker and his crew. And episode 3, spoiler free, is Riri is uncomfortable being a part of Parker's crew. 2 more heists max and she's out, she promises. David, what are your spoiler free thoughts about these first 3 episodes of Ironheart?
Everyone get to see Riri Williams from Black Panther Wakanda Forever. That was her backdoor pilot, and now this is also a series to fully get to know the backstory and know about the character. And I'm familiar with the comic book, which was introduced back in 2017. The first 3 episodes is a good start. I don't expect it to be perfect because this is introducing a new character that not many people are familiar with. And I'm really curious about how it ends for the next 3 episodes.
Yeah, so I would like to mention about the blatant review bombing. Not giving it even a chance. I know that Disney really did not do a good job of promoting Ironheart, but I think that this same thing happened with a couple of other Disney Plus shows, She-Hulk and Ms. Marvel. And I wonder why, because there's a pattern that keeps going on with this type of review bombing. I think that one of the reviews that I saw online was that it was a run-of-the-mill. I think that's accurate, in all honesty. But why is it that the standard run-of-the-mill story that involves a Black woman lead is different from, say, a run-of-the-mill stoner comedy for a white male lead? So it doesn't make any sense to me as to the standards are very different. I think that the premise of the gang of talented, smart misfits of diverse backgrounds taking down larger corporations, it's been done before multiple times in other properties, even in one of the MCU Disney Plus shows with the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where we had the Flag Smashers. And also there's some pretty good callbacks to past MCU events, especially in the opening of the first episode, which I really did appreciate and enjoy overall.
When I see all the view bombing, I'm thinking, what is going on? Because when I watched the first episode, Dominique Thorne killed it. She did a great portrayal of Riri Williams. Right now we're in the age where a lot of people want to see more diversity in shows. The people who view the show, maybe because they're not into the Marvel show, comic books, or into the story, they should have someone that knows the story first before put someone else that had no idea.
So thank you for elaborating what I said about the reviews, because it really needs to have a chance to let it breathe in order to judge it for what it is. So having seen it for yourself, what do you think your rating is going to be?
I would say my rating is a 7, and the reason why I give it a 7 is because I'm familiar with the comics. The creators of the show put 80% of exactly how the comic book went down. There's some small changes there, but it's enough to make it more original.
I think that for me, it's also going to be a 7, which is a dinner party on our rating system. This is definitely above average, and it's definitely good to have this discussion. You came and reached out to me and said, hey, we should do a review on this, because there is a lot to say about it. It's a decent watch, but there's nothing that is very exceptional, or as Riri Williams said, iconic. It's not that, but it's different. And so I think that if people just gave it a little bit of a chance, they will be pleasantly surprised. I had some misgivings about it, not the review bombing part, but that Disney just threw it in the garbage can and didn't really care about it. There's been a last-minute aggressive campaign to try to save this. Any other thoughts before we get into our top 5 moments?
Let's dive in.
Okay, so if you like what we have to say about Ironheart and other content we put out there, please like, share, and subscribe. We really appreciate your support. And we are growing really rapidly as a channel on YouTube, but also on all of our social media platforms. So spoilers ahead. I'm going to go through this as a slideshow because David can't really see the slideshow here. My number 5 moment was flying out of MIT. And I think that was pretty cool because it gives a callback to Wakanda Forever. And it really showed the white suit as an offshoot of the Wakanda Forever suit that was upgraded. David, what was your number 5?
My number 5 is also the same as yours, the Riri flying out of MIT. This is just like in the comic book in Ironheart issue number 1, where Riri Williams made the Mark I suit and fly out of MIT. So Marvel Television nailed this on that iconic scene. This was seen in episode 1 and near the beginning, where she was expelled out of MIT, and then she took her suit because it's hers. But then, unfortunately, when she flew on her way back to Chicago, it shut down, and then led to the first title scene, which is a mashup found out her name, Ironheart.
That was pretty creative. David, what was your number 4 moment?
Number 4 is the tunnel heist, which is the first that Riri Williams has joined up with the gang. Riri doesn't have the resources because of where she comes from. And she was given grants before from MIT, but unfortunately she blew off because trial and error, obviously. The tunnel is like a parody of Elon Musk's tunnel system that he's installing very soon. The Misfits is like an advanced modern version of Ocean's 11, except you have one supervillain and one tech genius who makes an iron suit. So Colin, what is your number 4?
Well, my number 4 was a little different. It was Riri's Michael Jordan red tracksuit and Jordan 1s that she was showing on one of the scenes in Chicago. That was really fly. For the tunnel heist, the Addams Family reference with the thing was pretty cool, but it was not on my top 5. So for my number 3, it was AI Natalie. So that was really cool. At the end of episode 1, we saw that she had created an AI version of her best friend from school, but I will defer to David to talk more about it later on. But before that, David, what is your number 3 moment?
AI Natalie was actually my number 2, which I'll discuss later. But for now, my number 3 is the new Ironheart suit upgrade of 1.5, where they show little bits and pieces. For those who've read the comic book, they showed like the Mark III hints. But what's clever about it is it's a reference nod to Tony Stark in the first Iron Man we did in the cave. In this case, she did it in the kitchen. How often you can make a suit in the kitchen? It's very cleverly done, and it shows how different and unique Riri Williams is. That's why I made my number 3.
That was actually a part of my honorable mention, the new white suit that she has. It reminded me a little bit of the White Tiger Power Ranger, a different generation, but it's okay. It's still very sleek, very awesome. So my number 2 is when both Joe and Riri were in the car going to his silo hideout, singing a lot of Morissette, and that was really cool. Call back to the 90s. Teenage angst, and of course Joe was very surprised to hear that Riri Williams know how to sing a lot of Morissette. David, you mentioned that your number 2 was AI Natalie, so talk more about that.
I'm surprised at AI Natalie because I didn't read anything before I started watching the show. That was a curveball because in the comic book, Riri Williams has an AI assistant, but it was Tony Stark after Marvel Comics Civil War 2, but they changed it because obviously Robert Downey Jr. is not going to appear in the show, so they changed it and make it more human. That somehow her AI she's building turned out to be her best friend. We don't know how she was created first, but it's also a nod to how Tony Stark's AI is Jarvis, who was technically the butler to his father, Howard Stark. So this is like the idea of an AI that can relate to Williams, because Riri Williams, as shown in episodes 1 through 3, is that she hasn't really processed her grief, the loss of her stepdad, Gary, and her best friend Natalie. And So seeing her best friend as the AI just shocked her, but she doesn't know how to process this whole thing. Is this really her best friend or just a coded clone of her best friend? What's really clever for me is that something very different, but also connects the character and something relates to everyone who lost a best friend or a loved one, and there is some way they connect with them again. Even in episode 2, where the mom accidentally saw AI Natalie,
Yeah.
and then she was shocked. It feels like she keeps thinking that they're back from the dead. Even Riri's mother asks him, "Can you make an AI Gary?"
Right.
But Riri says, "I can't," because she can't explain how she did it. And she even told her that, "I didn't ask my AI to become Natalie." So that's a mystery we have to find out soon in this one.
So that was a reveal that her mother was able to find out Natalie was the AI was actually in my original honorable mention moments. So definitely thank you for pointing that out, because that was definitely a very significant part of processing grief, and also with her processing her own grief as well. So my number one is the reveal of Zeke Stain or Ezekiel Stain. Joe happens to be the son of Obadiah Stane. So, as I mentioned in the spoiler-free part, that was a callback to the original Iron Man, and that was really huge. And I just wanted to say, give credit to Alden Ehrenreich, because he actually did a very good job as the convincing Ezekiel Stain, and there's a little bit of a redemption arc for him, hopefully, because of the backlash that he had when he portrayed Han Solo in the Solo: A Star Wars Story. I know the movie wasn't that good. I didn't like that movie that much. I don't think that he was the problem, but there's still a lot of fans that when you replace an iconic character like that, it's just very hard to come back from it. I think that him being in the show really helps to have this counterbalance. He also reminds me a little bit of Whistler from the Blade series. So that's something that I would say, hopefully they get to nurture that relationship between Riri and Ezekiel. David, what's your number one?
My number one is also the reveal of Ezekiel Stain. It's episode 2 when Riri Williams was the first one trying to find Rampage, but then she found out there's another person that can actually do this kind of technology. Joe is actually on the comic book where Ezekiel took the alias of Joe McGillicuddy. There's such a throwback to the comic book, especially the ashes in the sandwich bag. I'm like, why is he in that? And how are he able to get his ashes? So, because he was destroyed and blow up in the Ironmonger suit back in Iron Man 1.
Yeah.
But also, there's more reveals in episode 3, where Riri showed up at his house to talk about the environment skin. Riri saw him put technology in his body, which is basically trying to use all the black market tech to upgrade his own biology. In the comic book, he dubbed himself as Iron Man 2.0 because he's trying to be, like he said in the show, be different from his dad, but also trying to be as good as Tony Stark. When he showed up at Riri's home, and the way he blackmailed Riri is he has some obsession right now. He's going to be a villain. He did give a little backstory of why he doesn't want to be known, why he's trying to hide. But I wish he can tell him why wasn't he found out in the first place. Because in the comic book, Tony Stark never knew that Obadiah Stane had a son. He had no idea until later.
So, any other final thoughts about these 3 episodes of Ironheart?
I just hope that the next 3 episodes will make up for the lack of advertisement for this show, because it's promising. The cast is very promising as well, especially with Dominique Thorne and Lyric Ross, who plays Natalie, Eddie Manos, who's everywhere nowadays, and I'm so glad for him. He's getting more exposure of what he can do.
So those are our top 5 moments from Ironheart episodes 1 through 3. Tell us what you think about Ironheart by commenting down below. Like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. And we will see you in the next video. All right. Take care, everybody.
Mm.